If you blow the whistle on a fraud and a week later you realize you fingered the wrong person, and the right person is still walking the building untouched, and the wrong person has been fired, do you correct the record? I work in finance at a mid-sized defense contractor in Northern Virginia. I have been there for 11 years. The fraud I am going to tell you about was the kind of fraud the field calls revenue recognition timing, contracts being booked into quarters they did not legally belong in to smooth earnings. The amounts were not huge in a single instance. They were huge in aggregate. We are talking over 2 years, somewhere between $14 and $17 million of revenue that had been pulled forward into the wrong quarters. I noticed the pattern in the spring of 2023 working on a routine reconciliation. The signature pattern was distinctive, a specific kind of contract that had been redated in small batches by the same person whose signature was on the related approvals. I traced the signatures. The name on most of the approvals was a junior analyst named Wei. Wei had been at the company for 3 years. He had a finance background. He had access to the system. I did not understand why Wei would do this. Wei had no apparent motive. He was not paid on revenue numbers. He was a competent kid trying to get through his analyst program. But the signatures were on his account, the approval workflow was attached to his login, and the pattern was real. I reported it through the company's anonymous compliance hotline on a Tuesday in May. I gave specific contract numbers, specific dates, and Wei's name. I made it clear that the trail was the trail. I did not include a single line of speculation about motive. The company investigated. They moved fast. Wei was placed on administrative leave by Friday. On the following Monday, I figured out what I had missed. Wei's login had been the one on the contracts, but the timestamps on the approvals were strange. Most of them were after Wei's normal end of day, on evenings when his Slack showed him offline, and the approvals had a pattern that was inconsistent with his actual work calendar. I looked at the workflow more carefully. The pattern was that someone with admin-level access had been logging in his Wei and approving the contracts under his identity. The senior VP of the unit, a man named Larry, had admin access to Wei's login. This access was from an old project arrangement that had never been revoked. Larry's bonus was tied to quarterly revenue. Larry had been at the company for 22 years. Larry was the person who had been pulling the revenue forward, doing it under Wei's identity to insulate himself from the audit trail. I had reported Wei. The internal investigation closed in 3 weeks. They confirmed the contracts were redated. They confirmed Wei's login had done it. They did not look at admin access logs for those sessions because the compliance team's tooling did not flag impersonation. Wei was fired for cause. He lost his bonus, his stock, his unvested options. He could not get a reference. He had been in collections within 4 months because his lease had been on a salary he no longer had. Larry was promoted in October. I received a whistleblower payment from the company of $50,000 in November, under a policy I had not known existed. The payment came with a letter from the GC thanking me for upholding the company's ethical standards. I knew within a week that I had named the wrong person. I knew within a month that I had a way to correct the record. The admin access logs were still retrievable. The compliance hotline was still open. I could have, with one phone call, undone what I had done to Wei and pointed the investigation at Larry. I did not make the phone call. I did not make it because making it would have been a long conversation about how I had been wrong and what my role had been and whether the $50,000 I had been paid would need to be returned. I was tired of the conversation before I had it. Wei is doing better now. He took a job at a smaller firm. He sent me a LinkedIn request last spring that I did not accept. Larry retired in March. The senior VP suite has a new occupant. The $50,000 sits in my brokerage account. What would you have done? Tell me in the comments.